What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Sports Bluff. I'm your host, Tristan Bunn, alongside my friend, my confidant, my fellow football fool, Ryan Lambert. Ready to talk some NFL playoffs. They are here. It is time to make the run and crown a champion. The Texans are in. The Jaguars are out. Some unexpected things happened in Week 18, and now we've got our playoff field set. We're going to go through every single game and talk about the matchup. How excited are you, buddy?
Man, I'm very excited. When the Jags lost, I was so pumped because it locked in that team behind my right shoulder into the playoffs. And then the greatest thing happened of all, they got the number 2 seed.
They took care of business. Isn't it crazy that 6 weeks ago, it looked like Miami was cruising to a division win. Everything was falling apart in Buffalo, and now Buffalo's the 2 seed. And look, as much as we, I just got to say this. As much as I and you have said about Sean McDermott, when that article came out about him, since that moment, they've been on. And they don't look as good as they should. There are problems, yes, but the switch to Joe Brady and Sean McDermott has gotten that team in this position, and we attack them when they're bad, so we have to give them credit when they're good. It's an impressive home stretch performance for that coach, for sure.
What coincided with that was also the offensive coordinator switch.
Right.
Switching to Joe Brady unlocked this Bills offense. And, when the offense plays good, the defense plays better, right? So it really showed what the Bills were capable of once Joe Brady came in. And I didn't have high hopes, but,
right.
After the first week, when you switch offensive coordinator, you think, okay, well, that's just one good bounce-back game. The team's rejuvenated, but it's carried through. What the Bills have done in the last 5 games is nothing short of amazing, and it was all riding on Josh Allen's back. And I think we have to come to terms with the fact that Josh Allen is who Josh Allen is going to be. He is going to make the mistakes. He's going to make it look like the Bills are falling apart at some point in the game, and then he's going to rally back just with enough time left to give you a lot of hope and every now and then 50-50 shot of winning the game at the end. That's just who Josh Allen is. That's his MO, and that's who we have to accept as our quarterback at the Buffalo Bills.
The question's going to be, is it going to be enough to run the gauntlet in the playoffs? How deep can they go? We'll talk about them. Yeah, I think they're one of the last. We're going to go in order of the way the games are played. So let's start with the game that will be Saturday day. The team that got in because of Jacksonville's loss, not just got in, won the AFC South, which we swapped predictions to saying they would probably win it like 7 or 8 weeks ago. It got rocky there for a minute, but they are hosting a playoff game. The Houston Texans, DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud, first-year head coach, first-year quarterback, Nico Collins looking like a monster out there against the Colts. They're hosting the Cleveland Browns. Flacco comes to town. He has to take on the Texans. Ryan, what are your initial thoughts on this game? Who are you liking? What are you looking at broad picture?
Well, you remember the Browns just in Week 16 handled the Texans, right?
But CJ Stroud didn't play.
Sure, but Joe Flacco had a really good game, and I think he's going to have another really good game this coming up weekend. I think that the Browns defensively, offensively are just too much of a mix match for the Texans to handle. You got a rookie head coach, you have a rookie quarterback, you have something that hasn't been done since 2012, and I think that's something that we really need to look at and say, wow, what DeMeco Ryan and CJ Stroud have managed to do at the Texans should give hope to Texans fans all across the country, all across the world.
Well, they have their franchise quarterback, so that's
sure.
That's the
absolutely.
thing. And I don't want to take anything away from DeMeco Ryans, but this wouldn't have happened if he had gotten Bryce Young or anybody else. CJ Stroud is the lottery ticket that has gotten them, admission into the playoffs.
And this team is you can see that it's coached so well because you have the wide receivers doing great, names that we haven't even heard of, right? And you have people like Devin Singletary doing really, really good compared to what he was at the Bills. You just have all these pieces click on offense. I think they need to work on the defense in the offseason. I think that's their weak link.
And that's kind of the interesting thing because DeMeco Ryans is a defensive head coach, but I just think they need more personnel. They got a lot of young guys on defense, and that, to me, is the matchup in the game. I think If the Texans want to have any chance at winning this game, I think Will Anderson has to wreck the game. I mean, I really do think the rookie has to take over, and I don't think that's going to happen for a rookie. I think he'll be good. I want to pull this up. Look at this. This is comparing the two defenses, the Browns versus the Texans. This is what we're dealing with. Opponents' points per game, Cleveland is 19th, Houston 22nd. So pretty even there, and then we get the discrepancies. Cleveland giving up the fewest yards to opponents, first in the league, Houston 14th. Pass yards, Cleveland best in the league, only giving up an average of 164 a game. Houston, on the opposite end, 23rd, giving up over 200 yards. Opponents' rush yards, Cleveland falls to 11th. Houston takes the cake there at 6th. But as you can see, Cleveland obviously edges them out. And where I see right here a problem is Cleveland shutting down the pass and Houston needing to pass the ball to win it. The fact that Cleveland is number 1 in pass defense, Houston is number 23 in pass defense, that tells me Flacco could have a big game where CJ Stroud might be struggling.
Speaking of Flacco, he could set a record this game, Tristan, with the most playoff road wins by any NFL quarterback. That would be the number 8 if he wins this weekend.
That's great.
He would set a record. So, look, I go with experience, I go with the best defense, and I go with the offense that can I mean, really, when you look at these offenses stacked up against each other, they're similar in some aspects. They have pieces all across the board that can do really, really well. But what it comes down to me is CJ Stroud is a rookie. He is a fantastic quarterback, and he is the franchise guy. But Joe Flacco's been there. He's done it. He's won it. And I think he's going to do it again. But again, this game, like you said, I think it boils down to which defense steps up. And statistically, it's been the Browns all year over the Texans. When you look at rankings of defenses, I think that's going to continue. I see the Browns going through to the next round.
I tend to agree with you. However, I do have this just nagging feeling that's telling me the Texans might do it, but it feels like this is the accomplishment for the Texans, right? A lot of people, myself included, thought they'd be picking top 5 in the draft next year. They're in the playoffs. They're hosting a playoff game. They won their division. I feel like the inexperience is going to bite them, but it's not like Cleveland has a ton. You know, they haven't made the playoffs since that year with Baker Mayfield, so I'm not sure. I think Cleveland should control the game and should have Houston out of their depth. However, if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, if it's getting late into the fourth and we're tied, I think CJ Stroud finds a way to win it. I think he is that guy. I know you're really high on Flacco. I'm not. I think the dude will end up making mistakes. I just think the defense, are able to supplement it, and Flacco will air it out. So it's a catch-22. If Houston is somehow able to shut down Amari Cooper, it really neutralizes Cleveland. I'm with you. I'm picking Cleveland to win it. But if it's close in the fourth, man, I think CJ Stroud might find a way because he really is elite.
We've talked about Flacco making mistakes and how it is acceptable when you can go and score 4 touchdowns that game as well, right? So,
right.
I would be happy to see at the end of the game interception versus touchdown ratio. I think that's going to tell us how the game went, for Flacco anyway. And so, if Cleveland's defense steps up, though, man, I'm telling you, it's over. Like, it's over. If that defense is able to do what it's done all year long, it's not going to be much of a matchup. I really think that the Browns are they outmatch the Texans in experience and talent pretty much across the board. So it's going to be exciting to see, kind of who comes out on top. But I just got faith in the Browns, man.
Let's go to Missouri, Kansas City, maintaining the 3 seed, and they get Miami coming to town. Dolphins at the Chiefs. This is the Saturday night game on Peacock. Dolphins had a rough end of the season. They've had a ton of injuries really plagued them lately, and the Bills kind of walked the dog on them. Tua made that awful throw at the end of the game. He looked down the receiver.
Talk about mistakes.
Man, he looked him down from the pre-snap. He knew where he was going with the ball the whole time. The dude was double covered, no chance. Dolphins go to Kansas City. Let's bring this up. This is the comparison in stats from their matchup earlier this season, Week 9, when they played in Germany. Total yards, Miami 292 to Kansas City's 267. Pass yards, almost identical. Rush yards, the edge to Miami. First downs, the edge to Miami. Third down conversions, I guess the Chiefs have a slight edge. Both struggled. It was a defensive game. And if you remember, the turning point in the Week 9 matchup was the fumble that Trent McDuffie caused on Tyreek Hill. They returned. I think it's going to be much of the same. I have said Miami are pretenders all year. I never bought the hype. They're, a track meet. They can play good against bad teams and they struggle against good teams. They average like 19 points against good defenses. Kansas City has a top 3 defense, especially in points per game allowed. Also, Miami is terrible in cold weather. They have to go to Kansas City and play in 40-degree Arrowhead with that crowd rocking. I know Kansas City's offense isn't what it's been in the past, but I don't see any way anyone would pick Miami. Is there a chance it could happen? Yeah, but it would be a huge upset.
Yeah, I haven't looked up any of the latest injury reports and who is possibly playing for Miami and who's not, but you could see the deficiencies against the Bills, right? You could see that across the field. I'm actually a little, I don't want to say I'm happy that anybody's hurt by any means, but I think it did help the Bills win a little bit on Sunday night. But my biggest thing to watch this game, in case you were wondering, because I know you were, is which quarterback is able to perform. And I know that's kind of a cliche thing, like, oh, yeah, okay, well, of course it's the quarterback. I mean, which quarterback can win it in the fourth quarter? And we know that Tua is notorious for not being able to pull through for his team in the fourth quarter. We've seen it time and time again where he's just not a 2-minute drill type guy. Patrick Mahomes, he is best in the 2-minute drill. I think he plays a different level of football in 2 minutes than he does any other part of the game, quarter 1 through 3. I know the defense, you said top 3 defense. We've seen them be a little up and down the last few weeks, so I'm not really hanging my hat on that. But what I am hanging my hat on is you have Patrick Mahomes behind center. And I saw what Tua did on Sunday. It looked sloppy. He had some good throws. The Bills left huge gaping holes in the secondary multiple times.
Kansas City won't do that.
Kansas City will not do that. Now, if Tua is able to connect with Hill and they can't cover Hill all game, it's going to be a nightmare. And then also the run game for Miami. If that can crank up and they can shut down Kansas City's run game, then that could be another big factor in the game, right? I think the rushing deal has Pacheco versus whichever running back Miami wants to put out in the field that game. They all do good for Miami. I think that could also kind of be how we could see how the game would shake out with the rushing attempt.
I actually think one of the problems for Miami and Mike McDaniel is they don't commit to the run game enough. It'll be going off. They'll be moving the ball at will, running the ball.
And then they'll pass it for 3 downs.
They'll come out and pass it, exactly, and go 3 and out. It's like, what are you doing?
Buffalo does it too.
Oh, I know, but you're popping off 6-7 yards a run on average, and you're going to throw it. I just don't think they have the personnel, and I don't think they have the experience. I think Miami has to play a certain way. Truly, Ryan, getting that 2 seed and having a home playoff game and home playoff games throughout the playoffs was Miami's chance. The only way they were going to make the Super Bowl is if they were able to host almost every playoff game and not have all the injuries come down the pipe. Kansas City dealt with some injuries too. I know the tackles got hurt in the Week 18 game. We'll see what the status is against as we get closer to the game. But bottom line, we know the Chiefs' offense is going to struggle, but I think they've embraced their identity. We know Miami's offense is going to struggle. This is going to be a defensive game. I'd be shocked if we get over 37 points scored. However, even if it's close, give me Mahomes, like you said, late in the fourth quarter to make a play. I don't know how far Kansas City can go, but I think they should win this one. If they don't, it'll be a big disappointment. And Miami's going to have a lot of questions to address in the offseason. The first game Sunday, we've already had 2. This is going to be the last one to decide the AFC because Ravens are on a bye. You get the break by winning against Miami. You get the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town to Buffalo. Can Josh Allen and Buffalo do what they need to do to vanquish Mason Rudolph and Mike Tomlin's Steelers, who somehow made the playoffs, which I predicted preseason? Somehow they did it.
Yeah, this was kind of a surprise to me. I mean, I had faith in the Bills, but, back in week 14, 15, like we talked about, it looked bleak. It looked really dim for the Bills' chance of making the playoffs. Miami was on a hot streak. Everything was going wrong for the Bills.
It was the Kansas City game that it felt like it turned around to me.
Yeah. I think that was the game back, or that was the first game with Joe Brady, right? I believe.
I'm not sure. I think they might have been one before that.
That was the turning point for me. Was when Joe Brady came in, I said, "Oh, okay. Well, there's the offense we've all been looking for."
Right.
One thing that concerns me is the Bills' track record in playoffs.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. This is Josh Allen's stats last year in the playoffs. So look at that. Like, he did good against Miami and then struggled against the Bengals. But even against Miami last year, 2 interceptions. You had the 352 yards. So how do you feel about that? The double-edged sword, do you think it's... Which Josh Allen are we getting?
I said this earlier in the show. I think we have to accept Josh Allen as who he is.
Yeah.
Come as you are. This is what you do. The question is he going to be able to put together that game-winning drive at the end to, seal the victory? I hope he can. But again, Tristan, it's a coin toss. It really is. I don't have any more faith in the Bills winning. And again, I'm a Bills fan, but I don't have any more faith in them winning a fourth quarter game than, Joe Flacco playing until he's 60.
Okay, fair, but it's the Steelers. Like, there's no chance this game gets close at the end, right? Or what?
No, I really don't believe so. But at the same time, I'm not jinxing anything, okay? This is my team. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that the Bills win by 14. I think there's a really good shot that they could do that. But you just never know, man. It's the playoffs. Teams play different in the playoffs. And then the Bills, again, victim of their own demise, they tend to beat themselves a lot in big games. So let's see what happens. But them, securing a home site playoff game is huge. Buffalo just went to Miami and won that game there. These fans are going to be going crazy all game long because it may be the only playoff game that they get to be a part of where they have a W.
Right. Now, look, you mentioned it in your little rant there. The Buffalo, struggles in the big moments. But one thing they do is they play down to their level of competition. That's the only thing that concerns me in this game. The Steelers should be knocked out, by any team they face, especially with TJ Watt. Very good chance he's not playing, right? So Mason Rudolph, he's not going to go win a playoff game. I just can't see that happening. However, Buffalo does this. They when they play an inferior opponent, they play down to their level and they, kind of pussyfoot around and risk losing the game. Whereas when they play good teams like Kansas City or Miami, they bring the A game and put their foot on their throat. I don't think they will, but I hope the Bills don't overlook Pittsburgh here, right? Because say what you will about them, Mike Tomlin's still a good coach. They could win this football game. It's any given Sunday, right?
Let's put all that aside. Who dared you to say pussyfoot this episode?
I watched Django Unchained the other day, and
explains it.
One key line in there, and I was like, I'm going to sneak it in.
You really can't put anything past Mike Tomlin, right? I mean, he's an iconic coach, and for great reasons, rightfully so. But when you look at these matchups on paper, the Bills are just dominant compared to the Steelers.
Right.
And
the Steelers have nothing that makes you believe they can pull it off in the fourth quarter.
No. If Mason Rudolph comes in there in Buffalo and beats Buffalo,
then Sean McDermott's gone.
I will do some type of obscene dare on this show. I don't know.
We might make you say pussyfooting.
Let's not. We actually want subscribers on this channel, don't we?
Anything but that.
I'll eat this microphone cover right here. It would be a sad, sad day. I won't watch the rest of the playoffs if that happens.
That would be brutal. But I think we all believe Buffalo will win it. Let's just hope they play it smart, control the game, use Josh Allen's legs, and the real Buffalo conversation probably begins next week. However, anything can happen. I just think we agree it would be the shock of the weekend if the Steelers pulled this one off. Let's go to the NFC and talk about the Green Bay Packers heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Despite all odds, the Packers they've had a roller coaster season. First off, started awful, picked back up, got pretty bad again, and somehow they brought it back up, made it to the finish line there in the playoffs. Jordan Love has been playing really well the past few weeks. Dallas has been up and down, but the whole referee Brad Allen thing got them the win, as well as Philadelphia's collapse, absolute disaster. We'll talk about them. Dallas is almost unstoppable at home, it seems. Detroit's the only team that even got close. I like this matchup, but I just don't see a path for Green Bay to win it. I don't know what they would have to do to win the game because I don't think Green Bay's defense is talented enough to stop Dallas. Regardless of how effective Dallas's offense may be, CeeDee Lamb has had a record-breaking year this year. I don't know if Green Bay can hold Dallas down enough. I do think Jordan Love will be able to put points up on Dallas's defense, but first time in the playoffs, I know he's not a rookie, but first year starting, it feels like it's just going to be too much to overcome for Jordan Love, and they're going to look to next year. But anything could happen. Do you see a path for Green Bay to win this game?
Yeah, because it's Dallas and Mike McCarthy, so I never have faith in them winning anything.
Mike McCarthy, we're a little too hard on him, though. I mean, he's done a great job.
So be it. I'm okay with it. I sleep well at night knowing that I'm that hard against Mike McCarthy. But let me tell you a little history. Of the last 10 meetups, Green Bay has won 9 of these games.
That's insane.
And you want to talk about mistake-free football, Jordan Love is hot right now. He hasn't thrown any interceptions in the 4 or 5 games. He's thrown, I think, 9 touchdowns, something like that. I mean, just super, super smart football here lately. The receivers are really connecting with Jordan. Aaron Jones seems to be doing well. He's back in the saddle. Of course, I got rid of him on my fantasy roster, so why wouldn't he be back?
There goes his career right back up.
Right. Stock up on Jones. Anybody I get rid of, by the way, let's just time out here.
If Ryan
I get rid
of, buy
as much as you can of it because it's going to go up from there. But do I see a path on paper? No. Do I see a path in playoff world and the galaxy of playoffs?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think
Bay could?
Sorry.
I think they could. I think the offense could surprise you. And, I think it really comes down to how well is Micah Parsons going to play this game?
Yeah.
How fast can Jordan Love get the ball out? How well is he going to elude pressure? Is Aaron Jones going to actually show up this game? All the questions I have for Green Bay is offensive. It's the defense, I think, is going to hold up fine. And because I think that both offenses they're going to score points this game. So it's really not about the defense. The defense is going to get murdered at some point. So that's not really my question. It's can Jordan Love keep up? Who knows? It's going to be tough because it's going to be in Dallas, and those fans are crazy.
Right. I think Jordan Love will play decent. I wonder if Green Bay is able to utilize the run in the way Buffalo did. Like, could Green Bay get Aaron Jones going and really get Dallas on their heels? You know what I mean? If they do that,
right,
they could take control of the football game. And as you know, Mike McCarthy is a good football coach, but the time management stuff does get wacky. He tries to lose games sometimes that he shouldn't lose. So similar to, as I said earlier, if it's close in the fourth quarter, anything can happen. I think that's one thing Dallas needs to avoid. I know it's the NFL. I know you can't blow teams out and put them away like it's college football, but I think the fourth quarter, Dallas needs to have a 2-score lead. Really, I think Dallas needs to be comfortably leading and play ball control football by the time it gets into the fourth. Because if it's close, if it's tied, I do think Jordan Love can go out there and make a couple big plays. I want to see what Dallas offense shows up. Is it the high-powered Dallas offense that's scoring 30, 35 plus? If that's the case,
fifth in the league for total yards per game, 5th in the league for total yards allowed in the game.
Who?
Dallas. Green Bay is not in top 10 in either one of those categories.
No, and Green Bay's defense has been somewhat atrocious, honestly.
And these are all statistics, right? These are all on paper. This is what is written down in the stat book.
But doesn't matter when it comes to one game.
That's especially a playoff game, right?
Exactly. Anything can happen.
So we'll see. Tony Pollard hasn't really lived up to the hype of last year, this entire season. He's, balanced out the offense good enough, but I think that Dallas's weak spot is going to be the rushing game, which hasn't been an issue because Dak has been carrying this team throughout the entire season. So, if you got a quarterback doing as good as Dak is, then, hey, you can't really complain. Why work on our rushing attempts when Dak can just score with CeeDee Lamb at will? Especially in Dak's... Or Robert Woods or whoever.
It feels like Dak has used his legs more this season, too. You think Dallas wins? Who are you picking officially?
Yeah, I think Dallas wins. I would be stupid not to pick Dallas. I don't have confidence in it. I'm going to pick Dallas because I'm going to go by the book this time. and I'm going to go by the stats, and I'm going to pick Dallas. But just know that if we come back next week and Dallas lost, I'd be like, I could see that.
Typical Dallas, right?
Yeah. Hey, good job, Jordan Love.
Exactly. I agree. I lean Dallas.
I agree with you, though. I will say I agree with you with ball control. If Green Bay can find a way to control the time of possession and get up a touchdown or 10 points, that's going to be key to their success in this game.
I want to see how it plays out. I want to see what kind of game. I wish I could peek into the future and see what the score is in the fourth quarter, because I think that could swing it.
We'd make a lot of money.
Oh, we'd be rich and be done with this podcast. So see you, folks.
Right.
No. I'm excited. I think similar to what I said for Houston, I think Green Bay is another year away from like really winning playoff games.
So who do you have?
I've got Dallas. You got
Dallas. Okay.
I don't think they're going to win by 7 or 10. I know the spread's like 7. I think it'll probably be like a 4-point game, but next year Green Bay might get dangerous. I think Dallas is a good enough football team to at least make it to the divisional.
Let's talk about a game that is, I think, yours and mine game of the week.
Oh, I'm so excited.
The Rams at the Lions,
yes.
2 veteran quarterbacks, 2 high-powered rushing teams.
Stafford going home.
These guys are going to play some really good football, man. And I know it's going to be an offensive game. Like, the defenses are okay on each team, but where they shine is Kyron Williams. It's David Montgomery. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's all these guys.
Puka. Yeah.
Was Sam Laporta going to play?
I don't know. I hope.
Okay, because I know he tweaked his knee or something.
He did.
So I don't know if he's going to play. If he doesn't,
it's a big deal.
That's a big hit. But if all holds up and he does play, this is going to be a crazy game, man. And I'm going to give the nod to Detroit. I'm going to go ahead and give you my pick. I'm going to just ever so slightly give the nod to Detroit because they're at home. That matters, especially when you're playing where the Lions play. It's loud in there. Those fans,
they're raucous.
Talk about crazy fans. They are. This is the first time that this has happened. In how long?
93, I think, or something like that. But
the year of the blizzard in Alabama.
They've never had a playoff game in this building.
Right. That's a long time, by the way.
That's unreal.
Since I've been alive, since we've been alive.
Okay, so question. Before I give you my pick, how much of an effect is the whole Stafford returning to Detroit thing going to have on this game? Because I think it's looming large. I think you feel it in every snap.
Yeah.
I know I know they didn't have bad feelings or a bad breakup, so it's not like a revenge game or anything, but it's a big deal. Like the Lions' first home playoff game, first playoff berth in like years, and who do we have to face first round? The guy we traded away, the guy that we said, we're moving on from. We can't get it done for whatever reason. And now he comes in there to end Detroit's season.
With a Super Bowl ring on, by the way.
Right. Already got one.
He's already got one. And he's going to get booed like crazy when he comes out the field. Like, that's going to happen.
No, disagree. They love him.
No, he's going to.
Not happening.
But I don't think it's going to really change much. I think, as a fan, we watch it and we think, oh, look at this, and this is a cool story. And
it is.
I think to these guys, I think it's just football at the end of the day.
I agree, but only because it was a clean breakup. Now, in those games where it is a dirty breakup and they feel wronged, it's real. You know what I mean? It's palpable.
Well, look, if I'm a Lions fan, I'm actually, I say he's going to get booed. I think he'll still get some boos, maybe not the whole stadium. But if I'm a Lions fan, the greatest thing that happened to us was Stafford leaving because it changed the entire outlook of the team.
I know.
If you go back and think about that, how things played out once Stafford left, the team built and built and built, and now you're in the playoffs.
Right. I agree. This is one of those situations where both sides are happy with the trade. I think if both sides could go back in time, they would sign the deal again. Genuinely.
Well, yeah. If you look at where you're going to be in 2023, then why wouldn't you?
Right. The Rams got their Super Bowl out of it. The Lions got their coach of the future. Jared Goff is, acceptable for the moment in time that they're in. Not as good as Stafford, but still, they're in a good position. I find it interesting you're taking Detroit because I'm not. I'm going Rams all the way, baby. I think the Rams are the hottest team in the NFC. Ryan, I genuinely think Sean McVay has a Super Bowl team. I do. Will they make it that far? I don't know. They'll probably have to go through San Francisco to get there. But this team is hotter than anyone else. They're the only team that has had anything for Baltimore the past 10 weeks. They took Baltimore into overtime. I know I've mentioned it a lot. but it's kind of a big deal. Puka Nacua has had a record-breaking season. Detroit's defense, man, is not reliable. Aiden Hutchinson is, okay, but he's about the only one, whereas the Rams are reliable offensively and pretty reliable on defense. I think the Rams control this game. I think Matthew Stafford outplays Jared Goff, and I think they handle Detroit and put it early into what was a promising season.
No, man, you're not giving Dan Campbell any credit?
No.
By the way, on defense for Detroit, you're right, though. Can somebody please tell the Lions to cover the secondary
It's bad.
up top? Because they get beat all the time over the top.
Yeah.
All the time. Wide open guys, man. Like, they play, they just don't run with the receivers. The receivers will pass them, and they're like, oh, maybe I should go chase that guy? I don't know.
It's like they're all passing it off to someone else. Hey, buddy,
Aiden,
there's no one behind you. You're the safety.
Right. Aiden, you didn't go with Tyreek Hill? I thought that was your guy.
Right. We didn't send a D-tackle with him? Huh.
Right.
Funny. The safety had him.
No, that is a problem, right? But I think the Rams have some issues of their own. Maybe not quite as many as the Lions on paper, but
I think they're a more balanced football team.
I said I was going to go off paper with the last game we talked about. This game, I'm going strictly off emotion. I think that the Lions have a different level of emotion than any other team in the playoffs this year because of what they've gone through, where they've come from, and how long it's been since they've been here. I think they just that plays into my predictions a lot.
That's fair.
Maybe it shouldn't, because every other game I'm picking pretty much off stats and players and talent and competition. I acknowledge that. But this game, I'm riding with the Lions, baby.
It's Ben Johnson versus Sean McVay, both really great offensive play callers. Give me Sean McVay. And also, I get the better quarterback. I get the better coach, the better quarterback, really maybe not the better roster, but it feels like they're playing that way. There's no way I could go against the Rams. I think Jared Goff is going to miss a couple big throws that end up biting them. And
he does that every game.
Right. And I don't think Matthew Stafford will. I think he's going to be on fire. I think Puka Nacua, we're going to be saying his name 100 times next week. He's going to have a monster
I'll say his name
game.
Anyway.
Yeah, right.
Like,
just to practice.
Throughout the day, I'm just like, Puka Nacua.